I mentioned earlier that the complex number in the form of z equal to a plus bi, or z equal to a plus jb, is a rectangular form. We have another form of a complex number, and it is called polar form. Okay? Remember in your advanced algebra, the radian circle with the quadrants and the radius of the circle, at the same time the angle of the circle, that is the polar form of a complex number. So the rectangular form is z equal to a plus jb. The polar form is r bar angle theta. Okay? So, remember, this is our x, this is our y. So, our x is the real number, and our y is our imaginary. Okay? So, therefore, if we have a plus jb, our a is this one, our b is this one, and so this is our r now. As you can see, that is the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Therefore, the equation of r is equal to the square root of a plus b squared. Okay? Then, to follow, we have SOHCAHTOA. Our angle, our tangent angle, is equal to opposite, which is the b, over the adjacent, which is the a. So, theta is arctangent b over a. Okay? So, that is the conversion from rectangular to polar. So, if we are going to convert 5 plus j2 in rectangular form, as you can see, we have a positive x and a positive y. That means the resultant, or the r of your polar form, will be located at quadrant 1. So, your r will be at here, which is 5, 2, okay? And the angle is this one. So, what is the value of r? That is square root of 5 squared plus 2 squared. So, that is square root of 25 plus 4. That is square root of 29. So, r is square root of 29, and your theta will be arctangent of 2 over 5. 21.8014 degrees. Okay? Just remember, in terms of electronics, we usually use 4 decimal places. The answer will be r bar angle theta will be square root of 29 bar angle 21.8014 degrees. So that is your polar form. So remember, we have rectangular form, we have polar form. In terms of, let's say, you have polar form, then you want to perform addition. It's easier if you are going to convert it into a rectangular form, then perform the addition, then balik nyo siya sa polar form. There is no restriction about the solution unless it is stated that perform the multiplication in the rectangular form. So that means you have to use the FOIL method, or the division of the rectangular form, you will use the conjugate. Why? Because there's an easier way of performing multiplication and division. That is by using the polar form. If you have a polar number, let's say R1 bar angle theta 1, then you will multiply it to R2 bar angle theta 2. That is simply R1 times R2 bar angle theta 1 plus theta 2. That is how you will multiply a polar form. Then we also have the division, and that is, if that is R1 bar angle theta 1 over R2 bar angle theta 2, you don't need to get the conjugate. You just perform it by R1 over R2 bar angle theta 1 minus theta 2. That is the numerator, the angle of the numerator minus the angle of the denominator. That is how you are going to simplify the division or perform the division of a polar form complex number. Okay? Then, we also have trigonometric form. Okay, we go back here, in the polar form using the x and y plane. You have to remember that if any of this, the real or the imaginary, becomes negative, you have to locate it properly in the x and y form to properly get the value of your theta on your r bar angle theta. Even if mag-negative yan, depending on where did you get that, let's say it is in quadrant 3, okay? You get a r located in quadrant 3. You have to include the signs during the arctangent to properly get the angle here. Or else, pwede nyo namang i-indicate, let's say square, let's say yung r mo dito siya nagpunta, yung i-extend mo siya dito, di ba ganun sa geometry ba yun? Pag in-extend mo yan dito, this angle is the same as this one. Okay? Bisecting angle. So, you can use still 21.8014 because this is the same angle, but you will include at quadrant 3, indicating that your r is located at quadrant 3. So, it should be, if you will have the same value, or you think of na the value of your theta is small compared to what should be the angle ng buong ito, you have to include a direction. So, our polar form is a vector quantity where you need to include the direction of the r. Is that clear? So, we go back to our trigonometric form. In our trigonometric form, as you can see, the y, or rather the x, is the real, and it is along the x-axis, and your y is the imaginary, or along siya sa y-axis. Therefore, our z can be equated into a triangular form, and that is by having r cosine theta plus j sine theta. Or sorry, pwede din yan na r cosine theta plus j r sine theta. Or, remember in your physics, kung nagpi-physics kayo, your z is the resultant force. And having a resultant force, you have to know the equivalent of that r on your horizontal plane and on your vertical plane. And since your vertical plane is an imaginary number, that's why it should contain y. I mean j. Okay? So that is another form of our complex number. That is called the trigonometric form. So if we have this example, we have r as square root of 29 and theta of 21.8014. Then it can be written in the trigonometric form as z equal to square root of 29 times cosine 21.8014, tama ba? Plus j sine 21.8014. Erase. Nagtatalo na yung sulat ko. Z equal to square root of 29 cosine 21.8014 plus j square root of 29 sine 21.8014. Accepted din yan. Okay? So, remember, r, the theta, yung r and theta will come from the polar form. Then, the last form that we have is the, so, ito yung trigonometric form. So, underline na natin yan. Wala na to dun sa ano, sa, tawag dun sa, in the lecture. So, I'm just adding. Kasi as I remember, it should be included. So, we also have the exponential form. Okay, that will be z equal to r e to the j theta. So, that is the exponential form. So, that could be if you have the same rectangular form of this, it will be z equal to square root of 29 e to the j. Our theta is in radians. So, if you have 21.8014 to radian, that is in terms of that is angle over 180 degrees and multiply it to pi. Or theta, sala yung ano, pi, tama. You know that theta, so it will be 180 degree over, ang numerator natin is pi. So if that is 21.8014 times pi over 180. So what is the value? That is 0.3805 radian. So if we are going to use the exponential form, that angle should be in radian, so that is j 0.3805. Yun lang naman. Yun lang naman. That's the only one na magkakaroon ka ng in radian form. Okay? Any questions? So, we summarize. we have different forms. If we have z equal to, ano nga yung ating pinagsimulan? 5 plus j2. 5 plus j2. If we have 5 plus j2, this is our complex number, and this is in rectangular form. Okay? If we're going to convert it into polar form, dyan papasok yung, it will be square root of 29, bar angle 21.8014 degrees. Don't forget, that is our polar form. Okay, that can also be equal to 29 cosine 21.8014 plus j sine 21.8014. That is our trigonometric form. And the last is our equal din po yan sa square root of 29e ayaw na pong magsulat. Naglobat kaya pala. E to the j 0.3805. Tama ba? 3805, and that is in exponential. Okay? So then, we have different operations for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, conjugate, and multiplication and division in polar form. So if you are given in trigonometric form, okay lang naman yun. If you convert it into polar form, then you put it back in the trigonometric form. Unless it is stated kung whichever will be the process na gagawin nyo. But if that fall on, let's say, multiplication question, if it fall on that and it doesn't need solution, then you can use whatever solution that you want. Okay lang yon, unless it is stated that you need to show a solution or a specific solution. Any question?